Hey everyone, we're going to continue our study of great women of faith that changed our world, right? And today we are looking at Martha Beecher Stowe, and she was the seventh of 12 children of Lyman Beecher, a Congregational minister, revivalist, and reformer. And Stowe's book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe wrote the book Uncle Tom's Cabin. It opened the eyes to many about the harsh conditions faced by African American slaves, and it stirred controversy over slavery and helping many to see that it was an evil institution. When she was visited the White House, President Abraham Lincoln said to her and greeted her and said, "So you're the little woman who wrote the book that started this great war." So Stowe averaged nearly a book a year, but Uncle Tom's Cabin remained her legacy. Stowe published a small volume of religious poems and gave public readings from her writings. Even one of her harshest critics acknowledged that it was perhaps the most influential novel ever published, Uncle Tom's Cabin, a verbal earthquake and an ink and paper tidal wave. And so this is what her critics said about her. So Harriet Beecher Stowe was a prolific American author, a passionate abolitionist and a social reformer who wrote that book, and it influenced so many. So Harriet was born in 1811 in Litchfield, Connecticut, and into a prominent family. The Beecher family was very prominent, and her father, Reverend Lyman Beecher, was well known as a congregational minister. So they weren't unknown, they weren't in poverty. And her siblings were also engaged in social and religious form, including the educator Catherine Beecher, who and preacher Henry Ward Beecher. So she attended the Hartford Female Seminary, founded by her sister Catherine, where she received a rare classical education for women at the time. Her early environment was steeped in theology and justice and literature. And in 1836, she married Calvin Ellis Stowe, a theology professor, and the couple had 7 children, and they supported the Underground Railroad. A personal tragedy, the death of her 18-month-old son in 1849, deepened her empathy for enslaved mothers and played a pivotal role in shaping her resolve to write against slavery. In 1852, she published Uncle Tom's Cabin, which exposed the brutal realities of slavery and stirred a national outrage. And the book sold over 300,000 copies in its first year. Now that's a book, right? In the US and over 1 million copies in Great Britain. Its vivid characters and emotional depth humanized the enslaved people and made horrors of slavery undeniable to people, and made it aware so people could actually see it. It was no longer undeniable to people who had ignored it before and accepted the institution. It became the driving force behind the abolitionist movement and is considered one of the most influenced books in American history. According to a legend, when Harriet met President Lincoln, I already mentioned that what he said to her. And so she wrote 30 books, include A Tale of the Great Dismal Swamp in 1856, A Minister's Wooing in 1859, and Palmetto Leaves in 1873. And as I said, the collection of all her writings was 30. She consistently used her literary voice to explore themes of Christian morality, of justice, of women's roles, and racial equality. Harriet supported and educated women, temperance. She supported temperance and prison reform, making her a well-rounded, impactful social advocate. Later years, she died in 1897 in Hartford, Connecticut at age 85. But she also, after she died in 1910, she was inducted to the Hall of Fame for Great Americans. Her former home in Hartford is now preserved as the Harriet Beecher Stowe Center, where her legacy as a moral voice and a literary figure continues to be celebrated. So the final reflection that I want to say for Harriet Beecher Stowe is Harriet Beecher Stowe once said, "I wrote what I did because as a woman, as a mother, I was oppressed and brokenhearted with the sorrows and the injustice that I saw." Her pen became her pulpit, and through her words, generations were challenged to confront the evils of slavery and live out the biblical command to love one another. I thought that was just really fabulous today, and I hope that you are inspired by these works of these great women of our faith. God bless you. See you tomorrow.